Hello, and welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting on episode 2 of Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro. If you'd like to watch along, then start watching now. So, after the events of the previous episode, I feel like the worst is kind of behind us at this point. You know, Nagatoro's still gonna pick on Senpai, but probably not quite to the same degree. I mean, she still can't help herself. She's gonna act like a whirling dervish and destroy any hope of concentration, but it feels like the teasing is a little bit more less mean-spirited, more slightly salacious, given what she's doing. You know, I feel like this wasn't entirely thought out on her part. You know, I have to say, I kind of like the opening music. It's not exactly my genre, but it's nice and upbeat, which I suppose is better than nothing. So, the poor guy here, Senpai, I feel like he's sort of resorting to, coming in at odd hours to get his work done. Or pursue his hobbies. Oh dear. I feel like Senpai here has fallen prey to the classic, iconic debacle, I suppose. You know, he bought a little untoward manga and brought it to school with him. You know, that's never a good path to go down. Because, like, if anybody sees even a little bit of it, like, that's it. You are done. So fortunately, Nagatoro seems to be, playing stupid, you know. He's like, oh, you're just eating lunch, you're not reading lewd manga. But, I don't know. Yeah, no, she's automatically suspicious. She doesn't know the full shame that's about to unfold here, but, oh dear. It's nothing pervy, he says. Oh dear, senpai. You know, I feel like the more you protest about this, the more trouble you're gonna get into. You know, just admit you like reading manga about vampires with big boobs. Like, honestly, I feel like that's a pretty decent winning formula right there. But at the same time, you know, you can't be bringing that stuff to school with you. Oh no, senpai, don't even try and rationalize it, dude. Just say, like, yeah, I like reading about girls with big tits, what of it? You have to double down. If you try to rationalize and explain, you just look like a loser. Oh dear. It seems like Nagatoro's gonna try and reenact some of this with him, and probably with deleterious effects. I feel like Nagatoro has the reaction we all should. Wait a minute, they're vampires too? I did not notice because I was too distracted by the eponymous big boobs. And to be fair, I feel like in a manga like that, the vampire stuff would be kind of secondary, and understandably so. I mean, to his credit at least, there seems to be some sort of indication that there's a wider plot than just girl has big boobs. Oh man, Nagatoro's noticing it, Senpai's just like the hapless main character. I feel like the author is, being a little coy here, although, in this case, the hapless guy just, actually died, so maybe it's not a one-to-one example. I feel like Nagato is just sort of trying to pick on him in a slightly less mean-spirited way. I feel like I've sort of heard this whole thing before, like, that's kind of the lore in Hellsing Ultimate. If you're a virgin, you get bitten by a vampire, you become a vampire, otherwise you just sort of become a mindless ghoul. I'm wondering if there's actually sort of like an actual reason for that in folklore, if it's just sort of something that got made up along the way. So now it seems like we're actually sort of leaning into the horror vibes here. Nagatoro's like, oh, I'm not a vampire, but can I nibble on your neck just a little bit? Man, she's not making a good argument for why she should be allowed to do this. It's like, ooh, my teeth are kind of pointy. It would be really easy to puncture your skin with them, so just, come on, let me nibble a little bit. Man, is like, moderately mean-spirited as this is, I feel like, it certainly could be worse, to have just a girl sort of straddling you. I mean, this is kind of like the sort of thing that would happen in the manga Senpai was reading, so I feel like, thinking about this objectively, it could be a lot worse. Man, this is like a prime opportunity for somebody to just walk in and see what's going on and get the absolutely wrong idea. Ooh boy. It's nice that the tables are turned at least a little bit. She's the one that's embarrassed now. Now, not to deviate from the topic of this episode too much, but, I'm wondering where that sort of bit of folklore about vampires not liking garlic came from. Because I'm pretty sure garlic has some, antiseptic properties, but at the same time, why would that repel a vampire? Maybe it's just one of those old, wives' tales that sort of persisted. And there's, a little bit of truth to it in that it wards off disease, but I don't know. Man, that she would offer to do something like that. I feel like there should be a kind of clue here that maybe the lady doth protest a little bit too much. Man, you know what? Despite all this, I really don't envy Senpai too much, because I don't think I would fare much better in a situation like this. I think I would just be absolutely bewildered. Oh no, he's giving into it. He's just sort of picturing Nagatoro and himself and similar stuff to the manga. That's not good, man. Once you get hooked on that, it's all over. Yep, there will be no peace for you. You sit down, you start your job, but nope, Nagatoro's here to ruin everything. So naturally, she has some sort of devious, sort of lewd game to play, and I feel like it's only ever going to work out in her favor here. There's no way Senpai is going to get anything out of this encounter. This strikes me as being somewhat similar to that sequence in My Dress Up Darling where Gojo was sort of forced to measure. I mean, he didn't actually do it, Marin did it herself, but, boy, that was something alright. Just the thought of it is something. So, I feel like Nagatoro is not thinking this all the way through here. She's offering up this ticket, and the idea is she'll do anything, and she's couching it as when I'm bothering you, you can get me to stop, but... Oh, okay, I guess she did think of it. You can force me to do anything, Senpai. But even so, I think she's banking a little bit too much on the idea that Senpai's not willing to do anything untoward. I feel like... I don't know. If I were her, I wouldn't put something like that on the table, just because, on the off chance he does snap. Ultimately, I don't think Senpai made the right decision here by humoring her. Just because, I don't know. I don't think there's any way that this is gonna go particularly well. I feel like this is rather highly dramatized for the childish game that it is, but... I mean, how else are you gonna sort of show the audience that Nagatoro is right on point, as it were? That's something, I don't know, that this is like a self-reported game. I feel like... You know what? I think I'm gonna get in the weeds here on this. Like, I feel like there should be like a neutral third-party arbiter who decides here, but, you know, that's really weird for what this game is. That's kind of a stupid idea. And if that were to be the case, if that's what they decided to do, I feel like Nagatoro would just get one of her friends, and that's, you know, that's not necessarily a good thing either. Oh, okay. So Senpai's like finally ticked off a little bit, you know. She's still sort of goading him about not having the guts to do it, but he's actually kind of doing it. I feel like she's gonna live to regret this. Oh dear. You know, she was definitely bluffing here. She doesn't want to go through with this, but, you know, it's too late. You pissed him off too much. Yeah, well, look at that. The rules changed conveniently. I guess if there's anything to be taken away out of all of this, it's that there's a winning strategy here, and you need to call her out on what she's doing and, like, fight back, basically. Man, you know, I know it's just, like, plot convenience here, but Senpai really can't catch a break about getting away from Nagatoro to work in peace and quiet. And you know what? That's gotta suck. Like, not being able to get any peace and quiet to work on your stuff. Now, this is a bit of a pet peeve of mine, how, like, those two guys, like, sure, they're, like, basically glorified background characters, but, like, they didn't even fully draw on their faces. I feel like that's almost irredeemably lazy. You know, it wouldn't have taken much more effort, I'd imagine, to just sort of, like, give them eyes. Even if they were drawn, like, really simply, just, like, dots and, like, a line for the outline of the eye socket, you know, would that really have been so hard? Granted, I'm no artist, so I don't really know, but at the same time... So, it's very interesting that, Senpai's sort of assuming Nagatoro is just gonna pick on this guy too, but she's just sort of subdued and sitting there, just really sort of passive. So, you know, this is interesting. It's character development here. Senpai seems to be the only one Nagatoro picks on, probably because he reacts so much. So, I mean, I guess she's, like, kind of mean, I guess, or dismissive, but not exuberant in the same way she is when she's picking on Senpai. Man, I feel like this is almost written like a parody the way the guy's talking. Like, good lord, dude. Yeah, so she's doing it again. Senpai obviously has in his mind what she's going to say, and then the reality is she's just sort of cold and dismissive and shuts him down. Like, I guess it really is just that, Senpai is so fun to pick on. Man, the plot's getting a little bit thicker here. It seems like Nagatoro's friend's trying to set her up with a bunch of people, and has been singularly unsuccessful in doing so. So that sheds a little bit of new light on how much time she spends around Senpai. If he's the only one she picks on, maybe she does it out of affection. Who knows? So it begins again. She just has to pick on him a little bit. But I guess it's better than what she said to those other guys. In the grand scheme of things, I guess teasing is better than cold disinterest. Not by much, but I don't know. I feel like Senpai should count his blessings here. Alright, well that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means, tune in for the next one. See you, Space Cowboy.